What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back with the Fantastic Four. Now, we're in the thick of it now, right? We're in the main story. We're in the grand poobah of it. So, what we're going to cover in this video is going to be stupendously important that you remember this, because here in about 2 weeks, this is going to become an incredibly important moment in the entire comic book run. So what we end up doing here is picking up with something called the Arc, and we're introduced to something called the Galactus Seed. Not really introduced to it, more reminded of it. But the thing about this is that this basically starts off with Reed Richards being summoned to the moon by Galactus, right? Now, the funny thing about this is that when he gets there, Galactus presents him with something called the Arc, right? And Reed's response is, why in the world are you giving me this? Like, what's the importance of having this, right? Now, Galactus literally says, like you humans feel the shifting of the wind, I sense when worlds rotate from seasons of life to seasons of death. Very soon, your world is going to be broken. I cannot let that happen. When the time comes, you are to use that device, Reed Richards, and when you do, the Arc will summon me. And the response of Reed here is, okay, but like, again, why are you giving me this Arc? And why am I going to need to summon you? Because at the end of the day, one of the things to keep in mind is that the whole idea of Galactus, or his role in the Fantastic Four, is to prevent his death in the future. Remember that in the stories that we covered before, there comes a point when Earth becomes uninhabitable, right? There's just no way to save the Earth itself. And that in an effort to basically stave off the destruction of the human race, that a handful of that future's superheroes, right? So basically Hulk, Banner Jr., from the Old Man Logan universe and so on and so forth, that they basically end up fighting Galactus and then knocking him out, and then using his body as effectively a time machine to send themselves back into the past. But that process would destroy Galactus. And so the response of Reed is, okay, but like, here's the thing. If the Earth is destroyed, then there's no concern about the Earth being uninhabitable, which means no one on Earth in the future is going to kill you and use your body as a time machine. So isn't it in your best interest to let the Earth die? And the response of Galactus here is no, because there is a Galactus Seed on Earth. Now, the reality of this story is that this is more of a kind of like Jonathan Hickman response. It's a way to basically consolidate continuity. And the reason why is that if I recall correctly, at around this time when the story was being written, I think it was Rick Remender who was writing Thor, and he introduced the Galactus Seed. And that the way it was done by Rick Remender and then the way that Jonathan Hickman does it here is kind of reconciling it. Jonathan Hickman's kind of changing it a little bit, but that's why Galactus says the Asgardians have it and they hid it in the world tree before I could destroy it. And he says, if the Earth is destroyed, it will release an anchor to the tree and the seed will tumble through space and time to places less accessible. Until it is retrieved from the Asgardians, I cannot allow the seed beyond my reach. Now, here's a kicker to all of this, right? Here's the thing behind the Galactus Seed, kind of the backstory here, and it was actually Matt Fraction's run, not Rick Remender's run. But the way this played out is that during the Mighty Thor by Matt Fraction, the Galactus Seed was introduced to us as a creation of the cosmic entity Eternity, that quite literally it would give birth to the next universe. And that the whole idea behind this is that Bor, the father of Odin, had discovered the Galactus Seed and then used it to create the current universe as it exists now. I know it's a little wonky and it's a little weird. When it comes to like the continuity of like the universes and so on and so forth, that doesn't really apply anymore. And even Jonathan Hickman kind of cleans that up a little bit in sort of eliminating that whole idea of the Galactus Seed giving birth to like a new universe and so on and so forth. And instead, the Galactus Seed gives birth to what would be like a new Galactus, essentially. And what he says here is that if the Galactus Seed is not harnessed and taken by Galactus himself, that somebody would get their hands on it. And that if that happens and the Galactus Seed is born, then that would give birth to a new Galactus. The concern here is that Galactus would be immature, that it would literally just consume and destroy everything in its path. Now, the reason why that's so important and the reason why that matters is because for the main Galactus himself, that he is the survivor of a previous universe that died. He was born into this new universe, and then all the powers of the power cosmic itself, as ambiguous as that power source is, that it was all imbued inside of him, and then he was born, he consumed Archaeopia as the first world that he destroyed, and then went forward as Galactus, the destroyer of worlds. But he has all those memories, right? That entire life he lived beforehand as a scientist and so on and so forth. So he has restraint. He has the understanding of what his role is. He was able to scientifically analyze it pretty quickly and then realize he's there to maintain a balance. This Galactus Seed, right? Whatever version of him will come out of there will just be a new being who is of the power of Galactus, and they'll just start destroying everything because they literally won't know any better, right? It's like a newborn child with the power of God. He would just go nuts, right? It would literally just go crazy. And so with that kind of thing going on, the Galactus Seed has to be harnessed and contained. And so what Galactus says is when that time comes, whether it's because you discover the seed or because something else takes place, the seed is discovered before I can get to it, you will have the arc summon me if you need it, but also summon me if a situation arises where your world is going to come crashing down, right? Where literally the world is going to crack. And so it's like, okay, cool. Like Reed and Susan get the message and say, okay, cool, thanks. Is there anything else you need? And the response of Galactus is, actually, yes, there is, Reed. And when Reed's question is, okay, on top of everything else, what is it that you need of me? And the response of Galactus is, with all your focus on the world, seemingly tearing at its seams, everything going on, the different versions of you from across the multiverse who have shown up on your world, because I'm Galactus and I see and know all, with everything that's happened, Reed Richards, have you even noticed? Have you even paid any attention to what your son has been doing? Have you even noticed on the most basic level that not only are Franklin Richards' powers back, but your son has been learning to control them, that your son has been learning how to alter reality on a universal scale? Are you not paying attention to that? This is one of the most important things that I want you guys to remember. This story right here is going to come back because it's going to be referenced. And that moment in the comic is only going to make sense because of this video that we've covered right here. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later. Peace.